Today I'm behind the wheel of a brand new 2021 Honda Accord. Now the Accord gets refreshed for 2021. There are changes on the outside. It looks slightly different. There are changes on the inside. There's more standard features and Honda Sensing gets upgraded. Also in 2021, there are trim level changes and powertrain changes. So there's a lot of changes for 2021. In this review video, I'm going to tell you and show you everything you need to know about this brand new Accord so you can decide if this is the right car for you. All right, let's get started. First, I want to give a big thanks to Honda of Laos, which made this video possible. So if you're in the market for a brand new or used Honda, make sure you check them out. Their URL is in the description below. Starting with the outside, the Honda Accord's front end gets slightly revised for 2021. The new grille is now wider and the headlights are slightly thinner and now provide longer and wider illumination. The base LX gets LED low beam headlights, while the other trims get the full LED headlight treatment and receives LED fog lights, which have also been revised. The side of the Accord doesn't change, it still sits low to the ground with a sportback shape in the rear. All wheels are updated for 2021, from the 17-inch wheels with the base LX to the 19-inch wheels that you see here on the Touring. The rear pretty much stays the same, except the lower valence gets tweaked slightly. On this Touring model, there is dual chrome finishers on both sides. All Accords receive full LED taillights. The trunk is fairly spacious and you can fold down the seat backs for more cargo room. Moving to the second row, this Touring is equipped with leather trim seats and rear passengers receive a pair of vents along with a pair of USB ports. As for space, I'm 5 feet 10 and I have close to 12 inches of legroom behind my driving position and about 3 inches of headroom. Moving to the front, the Accord provides a modern and functional dash and center console design. The leather-wrapped steering wheel feels very nice and has the right thickness. Buttons on the right is for adaptive cruise control and for changing what's displayed with the heads-up display. Buttons on the left is for phone and voice control, volume, scrolling, and controlling the info screen inside the gauge cluster. There are also paddle shifters behind the steering wheel on this Touring. The gauge cluster is a combination of digital and analog. The left side is purely digital and you can change what you want to be displayed, from the tachometer to digital speed to trip computer to safety systems and more. To the left of the steering wheel, you can adjust or turn on or off the heads-up display. There are also buttons for the parking sensor, safety systems, and traction control. On the door, there are 2 memory seat options. Moving to the 8-inch infotainment screen, it is bright and the menu is filled with large icons for easy navigating. Responsiveness is decent, but the resolution isn't the greatest, especially when you go into reverse. This 8-inch screen is now standard on all trims in 2021 and comes standard with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And on upper trims like this Touring, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are standard. Below, you have 2 knobs to control the temperature and they turn blue or red depending on which way you turn. There's also another knob for fan control and a few buttons for modes and defroster options. On this Touring, there's also heated and ventilated seats. If you open the cover underneath, you'll see 2 USB ports, a 12V outlet, and on this Touring, a wireless charging pad. If you move down further, you'll see the new button style shifter that controls the 10-speed automatic within this Accord. There is Eco mode and Sport mode and buttons for the parking brake and brake hold. There are 2 cup holders, some storage space, and another 12V outlet inside the armrest. On top, there are HomeLink buttons and a sunroof inside this Touring. As for powertrain, there are a few changes for 2021. The base 1.5-liter turbo engine produces 192 horsepower and 192 pound-feet of torque. This engine is mated to a CVT transmission only. The 6-speed manual transmission is no longer available in 2021. The second optional engine is a 2-liter turbo engine producing 252 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque. This engine is mated to a 10-speed auto, and unfortunately this engine no longer offers the 6-speed manual either. Alright, I'm behind the wheel. Let's see how good this brand new Accord is and how it drives. So I've reviewed many Accords in the past of this generation, from the base LX to the 6-speed manual Sport to the Touring. And every time I got done driving an Accord, I'm thinking to myself, man, that was a good drive, or man, that was a near perfect sedan. And it's no different this time around. I already covered some of the 2021 changes, the subtle changes on the outside, the features that change on the inside. But what about the things that didn't change? Why is the Accord so good? What does it excel at? Well, let me tell you. Let's start out with just cabin noise overall. This is one of the traits for luxury cars, right? You get inside and you start driving, and you're like, oh wow, is it quiet, right? You really don't hear anything. And that is the same trait you get inside this Accord Touring. Not even the Touring, even the base trim LX, it was very quiet, but the Touring is really, really quiet. It's like luxury car quiet. Now, besides the very quiet cabin, visibility is fantastic too. It's really, really good. Front windshield is nice and big. Same thing with the side windows. The door panels aren't very high, so the side window is nice and big. The rear window, even though it's really slanted down, still, I can see past the headrest just fine. And also the blind spot is fantastic. There's like an extra quarter window back there, and it really makes the blind spot visibility fantastic. And plus you get blind spot monitoring on this Touring trim, so visibility is fantastic. Also, what's fantastic are these seats. These seats are very, very, very comfortable. Very comfortable. Inside this Touring, everything is covered in leather, but besides the leather and the stitching and how it looks, the cushion is very comfortable. The back bolsters holding me in, holding my back, and I'm not sliding around, but they're not very aggressive. Same to the bottom, good support. You know, it feels soft, feels comfortable. So I feel like I could drive in this Accord for hours and not be uncomfortable or get a stiff back or stiff butt or anything like that. It's really nice. And the spaciousness of this Accord is what also makes it a near perfect sedan, because in terms of size, this is more like a full-size sedan than a mid-size sedan. You get more rear legroom and cargo room than even a Toyota Avalon, and it's way bigger than a Toyota Camry. Although, if you look at the physical dimensions in terms of length and width, it's pretty much identical to a Camry, but Honda somehow figured out how to generate more room. The same thing up front. I have plenty of shoulder room, hip room, leg room, headroom. I mean, it's just really, really spacious in here. And then also makes you feel very comfortable, like you're not squeezed or tight, right? And I really like that too. Now, as I'm coming to a stop, the brakes are good, very predictable, has that linear feel. The pedal doesn't feel mushy or stiff, so the Accord stops when you expect it to, so it's good. Now, what's also good, well, not good, what's fantastic is this engine and this transmission. This powertrain combo is fantastic. So I just put this Accord in sport. Let me test out the acceleration for you guys. It's not very often that you can actually spin the wheels when you accelerate in a mid-size sedan, and that just happened, and traction control had to take over. This is a very, very powerful engine. It's actually a detuned Civic Type R engine. So on paper, it doesn't seem like it's that impressive. 252 horsepower and about 276 pound-feet of torque. So when you compare that on paper to, say, a Camry V6, you're like, oh, it's, you know, it's 50 horsepower less, but don't let that fool you. This is a very lively engine. There is so much torque that kicks in right away. And 0 to 60 in this Accord with this 2-liter turbo engine I just mentioned comes in at 5.7 seconds. That's very, very quick. I love this engine. It is butter smooth. It's very, very quick. And when made it to this 10-speed auto, it's a good combination. Normally, with transmissions that has too many gears, you know, it tends to bog down, especially when you're cruising. Also, sometimes it's just hunting for gears, not sure what gear to be in. But I never get a sense of that with this 10-speed. In fact, I think this 10-speed is better than the Honda 9-speed that you see a lot of inside their SUVs and other cars. I think this 10-speed is fantastic. And when you make this transmission to this powerful engine, it's really a fantastic combo. That is one of the reasons why I love the Accord. Around bends, this Accord also does a really good job. The suspension is comfortable and it can take corners and bends really well. I really like the suspension here too. I mean, This touring one comes with an adaptive damper, so it adjusts to roads, and I feel like it's soaking up everything beautifully. It doesn't feel stiff, and it gets all the bumps, and even around bends and corners, when you take them hard, you don't get a lot of body roll. I mean, I really like the suspension. Plus, the suspension is complemented by this fantastic steering. The steering wheel itself, I love. It's actually really thick. The 10 and 2 spot, very, very thick, and you can get a good grip on there, and the leather feels good. But the steering feel itself is also fantastic. The steering is very, very precise, almost no play in the steering wheel, and it has a really good weight to it. I like that weight a lot. When you add that weight to the precision, plus with the comfortable steering, I mean, it's a really good combination. As you can see, I've been saying nothing but good things about this Accord, which is why I love it, which is why I still think it's the best midsize sedan you could get. Yes, the changes for 2021, they make it even better, but even without it, this is just such a good midsize sedan because it does everything well. It has a powerful engine with a silky smooth 10-speed auto. The suspension is nice and soft and also sporty when you need it to. The steering has a good weight and has really good precision. You have really nice seats, and you have a quiet cabin that's also very spacious. So as you can see, it pretty much does everything well. It's near perfect. It really is. Now, Honda Sensing gets upgraded for 2021, although if you look at the list of features, it's still the same thing, but they have been improved slightly, at least a few features. So emergency braking and warning, that is still there. That hasn't changed. Auto high beam, road sign assist, those are still the same. Now, the adaptive cruise control does change. So Honda tweaked it so that it does a better job with braking. It's more natural. So that gets improved slightly. Also, your lane assist and lane centering. So Honda tweaked it so the Accord stays in the middle better. So you're not like ping-ponging like between the lanes. It stays in the lane better. So that also gets improved. So there's subtle tweaks to Honda Sensing that makes it a little bit better. So are there anything bad about this Accord? Well, there's a few things. And it's not like it's bad, it's just that the competition is better at. For example, there's a heads-up display in here, and it tells you the essential stuff. How fast you're going, the speed limit, your rev, you can change it to a compass, you can change it to a few things. But heads-up display in other cars are slightly better. So it's not like this is bad, it's just that it could be better. Same thing with the screen inside the gauge cluster. I like how it simulates an analog screen, right? And you can scroll through so many different things, like your trip computer and your fuel economy, your settings, safety features, all that stuff, right? But, it's not completely digital, right? So there are others in this class where it's completely digital. So it could be better, but honestly, I really like the setup. I think this is what you need. You don't need anything fancier than this, but you could argue that others are better. Same thing with the infotainment screen and the system. I think this one works really well. This is the standard one now across all trim levels, and I like the little icons. I think it works. You could customize it, remove it, add things, right? Responsiveness is okay. It's not the most responsive. The interface, it's not the fanciest interface, right? And the resolution is the highest, especially when you go in reverse. You could tell it's not super high res, right? But overall, it still works pretty good. It still works pretty good, but again, it isn't a class leader when it comes to infotainment screens. There's one thing that's lacking: 360 view system. In fact, no Hondas offer it for some reason. So I guess that's a little negative that you can't get that. Now, the sunroof is a normal one, not a panoramic one, so I guess you could argue that that isn't the best, but it pretty much has everything though, right? In terms of all the latest stuff, you have wireless charger, ventilated seats, heated steering wheel, you got paddle shifters, the heads-up display I mentioned, memory seats. I mean, you pretty much get everything. So like I said, there's nothing bad about this Accord. It's just that maybe some of these things are better from other manufacturers, but there's nothing in here that I could really say is awful or bad or really outdated that needs to change. No, there's nothing like that. I also like this cabin too. I mean, this generation of the Accord came out in 2018, so it's been 3 years, but looking at what the competition has and what they have done, I mean, this is still one of the best in my opinion. I love the use of aluminum in here, you know, with the handles, and there's just aluminum trim pieces around certain places, along with this dark wood and soft material and this pop-out screen. I mean, everything in here is still very modern, very luxurious, very functional. I mean, there's no complaints about this dash or cabin either. I think it's really good. So next, let me talk about trim levels and pricing and give you my final thoughts on this brand new Accord. In 2021, there are 5 trim levels to the brand new Accord. The base LX starts under $25,000, and then you have the Sport and the brand new Sport SE trim, which replaces the EX trim. Next, you have the EXL, and finally you have the Touring, which is around $36,700. To conclude, the Honda Accord is the benchmark for midsize sedans, and for 2021 it gets slightly better. The Accord looks great both on the outside and on the inside. There's plenty of cargo room and an enormous amount of passenger room. The Accord is quiet, comfortable, and very fast, especially with a 2-liter turbo engine. There's plenty of tech, and for 2021, wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto are added on. There really is no bad to the Accord, only slight weaknesses. The infotainment system and gauge cluster is starting to show its age slightly. The heads-up display can also be better. And lastly, there's no 360 view camera system or panoramic sunroof options that are available. I'm giving a brand new 2021 Honda Accord Touring a score of 99. To learn more about the Accord and to see where it ranks, check out driversonlyrankings.com. Hit the like and subscribe to the channel and check out these other videos.